It was the Lord that saw fit to spare thy life. We humble sisters simply attended thee.
It was Sister Aneshka who did minister to thy wounds. She did stay by thy side, day and night, after the other nuns abandoned hope. She is the one to whom thou shouldst offer thy gratitude.
Christoph, thy wound.
Nay, 'tis nothing. A scratch.
The mighty walls of Prague once held all demons at bay, but the Schlachter have overtaken a silver mine to the east.
Tomorrow, I shall venture into the silver mines and flush the vermin from their holes.
May the Lord watch over and protect thee, his warrior, his sword, and his vengeance.
I be Jaromir Boleslav, and the roof over our heads be blessed to share Hospitalier's air.
I seek to slay the demons of the silver mines to the east.
If ye be seeking to uproot the infestation in the silver mines, you'll be needing extra protection.
Hello, young one. What be it ye desired? Blood-sucking undead is what they be. Vampire, they be called.
These carts still hold their ore. The diggers have fled this place in haste, and the fiends have not seen fit to continue such honest labor. The odor of freshly mined earth is laden with the foul stench of death. What mystery lies moldering here? This poor soul died without a wound, save a bit of blood at the throat. Let the builders of this mockery of a holy cathedral show their wicked faces!
Welcome, Christoph, to my profane domain.
Hello everyone, hope you're ready for some news, because this is Galejro, here to give you a fifth, and perhaps last, development report before you can get your hands on Vampire the Masquerade Reawakened. So get comfy, grab that sangre latte, and join me as we sum up the past year of progress on the mod. Let's start with the community side of things and how we organized in the last year. Our Discord managed to reach nearly 4,500 members, Twitter is nearly 2,000, YouTube reached 9,500 subscribers, and there was a marginal increase in the Facebook group. At the turn of the year, we went through another round of re-evaluation of each member with a role and reduction of roles. Arcane University has taken interest in our project. I became an informal teacher there, providing lectures on our technological advancements in Skyrim, so that the legacy of this project may live on in other modding projects out there and raise the quality standards of Skyrim modding. Current status of cooperation is that several members are working on their own separate instances, with me doing the heavy lifting on the main project. Several of us work in tandem on provision of better facial remodeling and voice acting line implementation that can be later merged into a more simple universal form. We've been handing out early access developer copies to several influencers on the internet for gameplay and reviews. This offer still stands for any major VTM related content producer. I've managed to produce developer copies, pre-prepared installation folders for single download and extraction purposes for other co-workers required to playtest the features we produce. They currently exist as standalone copies of the mod, however, the end goal is a Wobberjack installation. As you may be aware, since last year, Activision's negative decision impacted the course of the project as we decided, for our safety, to make a choice based on a popular vote. The result was the decision to not remake but reinterpret the canonical elements of the original game and replace all non-canonical elements, thus removing Activision's side of intellectual property from the equation. This constitutes the title Vampire the Masquerade Reawakened. We are also in works to reproduce another subtitle, Vampire the Masquerade Chronicles, which will be set in individual small stories with RPG elements and a character creator. Here it is probably worth reporting on all the progress made for Chronicles. We are developing for Chronicles a more robust social system, including the existing Skyrim staples of bribe, persuade or intimidate, but also incorporating a boon system and influence. Social attributes will affect those outcomes, as will humanity at extreme ratings. Boons and influence will be used for things like a supply of vitae, always available at your haven, the use of blood dolls while enjoying another's hospitality, gaining access to the good stuff from the vendor, or even skipping quests or portions of the quests entirely by asking someone to do them for you. Likewise, we hope to build influence so it can shift quality, cost and availability of goods in your favor. But player choices may also generate friction with others in the area who are in the same influence tree, and losing the influence war will have the opposite effect. Chronicles character generation will allow for custom gender plus points allocation for attributes and abilities. In the initial build, players will be given a choice of the same clans that already have existing power bases in Prague in 1199, Nosferatu, Cappadocian or Tremere. Later options will include Ventru and Gangrel, and if we have the resources and demand for it, we might even eventually add Assamites or Salubri. Each clan choice will introduce 2 clan-specific acts that will be woven into the 5 main acts. We have entered consultations with the Nexus Mods website team to prepare for the premiere of this project and publication platform. Being backed by Skyblivion and Beyond Skyrim teams, we have a chance to make it a separate sub-website of Nexus, much like Fallout London is separate from Fallout 4, even if it is a Fallout 4 mod. Due to extensive asset use and permissions from their creators, we cannot publish elsewhere. Another piece of good news on the legal front is actually not even from this project. The premiere of Oblivion Remastered and Bethesda's approach and reaction towards Project Skyblivion has only strengthened our hopes in Bethesda's good intentions towards the modding community. It may have absolutely nothing to do with us, and we may be a completely different case, but to this premiere, it brings a little ray of sunshine into the heart. Look, probably a bad choice of words here. Now, let's bite into the core of the report. What have we actually managed to do for Vampire the Masquerade Reawakened this year? And I'll unusually start with the progress on the story and quests, as last year, after the public vote, we knew what to do. Now, let's see what we've actually been able to do. We are racing to reproduce the main story quests, and so far we've reached approximately 25% of the story content for the 2026 release. Barring some missing voice lines and soundtrack themes, the intro battle is finished and ready with all the cutscenes and materials. Cutscenes for the intermediary content like the smithy and magic shop are done with me finishing up works on the Inn of the Four Stags cutscenes. The Bond Silver Mines is now complete from start to the defeat of the Jamitsi who has control of the mines. Due to the commitment to purge Activision IP from the content, the Jamitsi who has overtaken the mines is now renamed as Nija the Undying. What remains is the nighttime mission and the embrace of our protagonists. We have yet to produce some extra content and dialogues. We decided to divide 2025 in the agenda for quotas of work for voice acting and writing, which has had some hitches due to the voluntary nature of the project, mostly out of respect for the voice talent's real lives. Christoph is no longer a mute protagonist in combat, as he is now more vocal.
To the abyss with thee!
Thanks to a new and dedicated member, Imploding Zombie, we are now in close cooperation to redesign graphically, unify and improve the UI systems in the game. Again, vanilla Skyrim UI will be the first piece of the job simply due to the simplicity and workload. Sky UI remains a distant but uncertain future. The game simply does not require that much sorting of items. The UI modifications and also developments in dialogue systems also unfortunately require us to seek and implement a different font to the classic Vampire Revised font we all know and love from the original Redemption and Bloodlines games. So far, Imploding Zombies' works have revolved around inventory lists, magic menu lists, main pause menu with game options and quests, map icons and compass marker arts, with the main HUD in the works. They have also been instrumental in production of infographics. Speaking of which, we have now implemented a new way to produce infinite on-screen pop-ups that also revolve around tutorial infographics. Regular Skyrim could only describe to you how to do it. With the infographics, the job of education will be much easier. Now we have managed to organize Skyrim's vanilla and DLC quest graphics to produce unique and quest-specific icons in the game's quest graphics. We are working on replacing the classic opening Bethesda logo in the project with something both fitting and informative of the nature of the project. Our musician, Nomis Tempar, has provided us with a melody to go with the intro changes. Let's hear it for our musician team hard at work composing new custom tracks for the project. The current goal is to have at least one custom and one royalty-free melody for each location to keep it from being repetitive. However, we can still go with only custom tracks for safety, and this is our minimalist goal. Again, all the music you hear now is composed specifically for this project or donated by those magnificent co-workers. Here follows the list of tracks increased in the melodies for the following locations. We have the official main theme of the project that serves as a main menu. We have at least one version of the Petrin Hill Monastery theme. We have the melody for Viserat Castle. We have a track for Wenceslas's dialogue and fight at the end of Nosferatu Tunnels, derived from the original song about the beloved monarch turned saint. We have a donated track for Modern Knights Setite Temple. We received Prague University Upstairs melody, and we have Joseph's Tunnels melody already. Additionally, we have 2 tracks in progress for Vienna Overworld as well as Arden's Chantry in Prague. By far, the biggest bomb of this year's progress has got to go to artists Nor and Wheel, as their cooperation resulted in high-quality remaking of faces in our project. Thus far, we have the final look of Ekaterina the Wise, Serena Praha, and our main protagonist, Christoph Romuald. Nor was also instrumental, as her works on new outfits and remaking existing ones provide a proper upgrade to specific NPCs. Her latest masterpiece is a historical and well-modelled nun habit for Aneska, and the other nuns in the game. Wheel's promise to the project is to reconstruct the core characters of the original game, and the unique ones for the project. For now, we can say for sure that plastic, low-quality faces of Skyrim will not be a thing in Reawakened. Other 2D and 3D concept artists are working to create new visuals for other specific characters in close cooperation with our writing and lore teams to establish canonical visuals of specific NPCs. Some of our 2D artists are working on remaking certain old World of Darkness graphics in a refreshed and repainted version. Besides just Wheel's workings, I myself was modelling in 3D facial sculpture as well, providing Joseph's V and Nija the Undying, the latter being promised to be remade by him. I've been tirelessly working on remodeling and retexturing multiple weapons and items. With newly approved or permitted assets, the Dark Ages ornaments are now all high quality. Jewellery is practically finished from the Dark Age equivalents to modern age ones, with all the magic rings and necklaces providing benefits to the player. Co-worker Encrypted has managed to produce several new custom car models for us, as well as taken on the monumental task of making the infamous Vost. It is currently in conceptual works. With more of those assets come also new enemy and creature models. We have new volunteers ready to spend time to build those creatures for us. There have been a lot of changes and new additions into the mechanics this year involving especially the coterie, disciplines and traits. Let's start with the changes to coterie mechanics. We now have implemented coterie stance abilities. After recruiting a new coterie member, the player can choose to set the coterie, just like in the original game, to follow neutrally, aggressively, hunt and seek enemies, or hold position defensively. The biggest addition is the coterie swap mechanic. Much like in the original game, you now have the ability to not just control Kristoff, but also other coterie members from their perspective. Note that this ability is still in its infancy and does not include being able to interact with the world or choose to use disciplines when in this form. It is merely movement and combat oriented. This may or may not be the final way this looks on release, and I cannot guarantee this can be improved beyond this state. Now for weapons. With a small new mechanic, we decided to add the weapons style swap to ornaments in-game. We sometimes get models of historical weapons that do pose double function, have two edges, or perhaps you have more than one way to use a particular weapon. I decided to capitalize on that and now make you fully utilize specific weapons in styles of combat. With two-handed swords you can half sword, and some axes and hammers may be double-edged with a crow's beak, so you now can rotate your blade in-game to provide a different effect. We now have two weapon styles that modify speed at the cost of armor-piercing damage output and vice versa on certain weapons. Weapons have also now been improved with the splitting of damage between lethal, bashing and aggravated damages. You now deal damage that can be soaked by supernatural beings, some that can be soaked by armor, and some that are impossible to soak, and this was spread across all sorts of melee weapons, and in case of ranged weapons, ammunition. But you didn't come here to listen to me nerding out on mortal toys now, did you? We managed to accomplish Feral Claws as a level of Protean, and yes, it is scaled with Strength and Potence as a viable build and potentially other discipline modifying attributes. Fortitude and Potence have also been added as disciplines and balanced out. Celerity is currently in works for its lower stages. We have heard of the comments about the previous showcase being too overpowered. That is now reserved for the maximum celerity. Currently, we are providing the lower levels of it. Another huge piece of work was done in the field of attributes. We now have the base 9 attributes for the player, though we are still deciding upon what benefits each attribute will give. So far, we have fleshed out the following fully. Strength gives bonus to melee and unarmed damage. Dexterity increases attack speed. Perception provides a better chance of extra loot in containers and allows detection of hidden treasures in the world. And manipulation improves prices in trading. Of course, besides those, there will be the dialogue options and specific events in-game that will depend on attribute and discipline level checks, either as part of the main story or perhaps extra side content. We have decided to detail attributes to provide a solid basis of discipline requirement and dependencies in future development. One other major work that is currently being done is the rework of humanity. Its simplistic form as it stood before will now be improved with the implementation of Hierarchy of Sins, a tabletop RPG mechanic from Vampire the Masquerade. Committing a murder on streets will at some point no longer have an effect once your humanity has dropped to a point where it no longer makes you any more evil than you already are. And vice versa, saving a kitten from a tree won't at some point raise humanity, as that act simply, believe you me or not, won't make you any better of a person. Needless to say, we only plan for there to be just one point in the game where you can reach humanity at an extreme ratings of 1 or 10. In short, we first made humanity much like Bloodlines 1. The lore team has worked closely with development team then to evolve a humanity system that loosely works as described in the tabletop rules. Instead of focusing on grandeur points of Hierarchy of Sins, we are using the core acts of lying, stealing, harming people, killing accidentally via overfeeding or while in frenzy, and killing intentionally. These will be woven into the fabric of almost every action, allowing us to support variable outcomes depending on the player choices. We improved the criminal escalation mechanic with 2 new details. The forces deployed for escalation now hunt you down, and they will not stop until you take them down. We also incorporated a Dark Ages variant of the criminal escalation. The last new mechanic that was recently added and still being polished up is the voice-acted literature in-game. Just like in the original game, if you open a letter, this will be read to you as well as shown on screen to be read.
Third brother Christoph, Moravian Hills is ours. Thy fellow knights crushed the bestial Magyars who even now flee into the hills pursued by the Hospitallers. We plan to return to Prague after we establish a foothold. Mindset though the nouns, and man thy wants, though thou shalt be ready upon our arrival.
The works on interiors and exteriors this year were marginal. The only major success of this year was creation of a new area in northern Vienna. Instead of more locations, we focused on the addition of many perception-based secrets to discover around the maps. That is accompanied by a new interior, Prague University Haven, which mirrors cutscenes in the original game and remains the haven of our main character. As to be expected, from the story development part, the Bonn Silver Mines quest is now completed. We managed to create the battle area for the boss fight in the dungeon. Besides the previously mentioned weapons and new jewelry reworks, we have capitalized on the tier listing of modern weapons and armors. We have added several new outfit models, not in small part due to the work of our talented 3D modelers. We strive towards replacing Skyrim commoner outfits for simple pedestrians in the Dark Ages with custom models. As to be expected from the story development part, the Bond Silver Mines quest is completed. We managed to create the battle area for the boss fight in this dungeon. As an added touch, we created a vista for the introduction of the game, which is a playable event rather than one cutscene, as in the original Redemption. We are in the laborious process of collecting NPC voices, the people in the street or in the buildings around the city. While this is not glamorous, it is by far a much larger effort than collecting scripted character lines. Each NPC has dozens of responses, and each city has nearly 100 NPCs, either on the street or in the buildings that can be entered. We've also started collecting reels for animal and monster noises, including the rank and file monsters who oppose player before the boss fights. The silver lining here is that many of these lines can be reused in Vienna, and can even represent the very same characters 5 years later in the Chronicles setting. All of the vendor interactions are voiced, meaning players can now trade with the smith Jaromir and the hedge witch Umlada, which are slowly scrubbing the Skyrim voices away, and soon players will hear almost no sounds from Skyrim.
May your deity watch over ye. Ye do well to find one hearth indoors after sundown. That what stalks the streets after dark be just pawns on the chessboard that is Prague.
I shall send all such wickedness back to hell.
Fortune smiles upon me this day. May luck shine upon me.
Since the Reawakened story reflects a faithful reinterpretation of the original Redemption plot and needs little in the way of story adjustment, the writing team has fleshed out the story of Prague Chronicles. It will occur across 5 main acts, fast-forwarding into 1199 and the conflict between the Ventru and Nosferatu, which leads to Joseph Svi's Praxis seizure with the murder of Ventru Prince Rudolf Brandl. Using canonical real-world and World of Darkness events as a basis, we have constructed a story around the pivotal moments in Prague's history, where the player will influence the eventual outcome. Though Chronicles will remain focused on the struggle for humanity and the inner turmoil of the beast and the Canaanite condition, we are taking a whole World of Darkness approach to the content. And while we recognize the primary success of the vampire, werewolf and mage game lines, we plan to showcase some of the other creatures in the World of Darkness and incorporate canonical events that draw the player deeper into the struggles of non-vampiric supernaturals and mortals alike. This pretty much concludes all we've managed to achieve this year for the project. Hopefully it raises your hopes to see it next year as a premiere, which we are determined to achieve. With about 25% of the main story done, we are growing a lot more hopeful to be able to meet this self-imposed deadline, even though we can never guarantee it. For now, I can certainly say you won't be able to see the release date in the first 2 quarters of 2026, and don't be surprised if we propose Halloween or even Christmas to release. As pieces fall into place and game takes its shape, we are of course acknowledging the reality that soon enough we will need to launch a beta test, balancing works and likely countless rounds of bug fixings. Things are looking quite good, all things considered, and I do hope the next time we release a development report it will be merely a prelude to a premiere.